Normandy Madden's panel on e-commerce trends. Normandy is the senior content person, producer at Thoughtful China, and we really thank Thoughtful China for helping us to promote this event and being great partners with us. So Normandy, why don't you take the stage? And you're going to stand here? Yeah, okay. I'll let you introduce your panelists then. Thanks, Normandy.
Thanks, Rebecca. It's good to be back. So we have three panelists coming up here. Alex Misseri at Razorfish, who I think is back there. Mary Chong from KPMG and Nathalie Fan from Diageo. Yeah, I thought. Sure. Yeah, there's three mics. I thought it'd be easier if I stay here, then they can keep their mics. So I'll stand here. So then all three of you will have one. Okay, and so I know that I'm between you and cocktails, so hopefully I can keep this interesting and fun because we do have a very good group here. Um, I also wanted to start out with Alibaba, which isn't surprising. I mean, with the IPO coming up, that is kind of the main thing happening in the e-commerce sector. But you obviously have a different perspective. You're not looking at it from the VC point of view, but more from the e-commerce perspective. So, I'd like to hear your point of view, sort of each one of you, about what you think this means for the overall retail market in China.
Yeah, I'll start since I'm nearest. Okay, for me, I actually see that from a business point of view, it probably opens a lot of opportunities more from the Chinese consumers and the foreign consumers in the point that with the IPO and the internationalization of Alibaba, a trend that is coming into the China market is the import of foreign goods into China. So I think that will actually open a big opportunity for a lot of the businesses who are looking at it from, if you like, the outside, what we call the cross-border buying. I think that will cause some impact there. I think the other thing that we do see that has really happened is that Alibaba's sales of China-made products outside. I think the key issue, and with the recent acquisition, or rather the partnership with Singpost on the supply chain, is something that they are trying to fix. Because I think in China we know that it works because, like someone has mentioned earlier, when I buy something today, I can get it delivered tomorrow. But in the US, in other markets, I think the supply chain and how they're going to form the logistics is going to have a big impact. And that's what that needs to be developed in order for this whole model to work.
I'll try and provide an answer that I seldom provide when I'm asked this question. And that maybe suits the audience we have here with the VCs and everyone. The answer would be, I hope it will maybe finally let the world understand, see, realize that there are extremely innovative companies in China, and that some of the world leaders of tomorrow in our space, in the e-commerce or tech space, will come from China tomorrow, and more will come. I think that people start talking about WeChat outside of China. I think that Tencent is not really a name that people know so much from what I hear of clients from all over the world. But I think that Alibaba now, people start knowing it, and when they are now realizing the power of the company, the breadth of services that they provide, people start saying, sorry, but oh shit, it's that big, it's that many services, it's that size, it's that wow, and it really places China on the map of the tech industry, big way. And that's I think a milestone in the development of the tech industry, and of consequently the startup industry, the VC scene, and everything.
And Nathalie?
Okay. So as a merchant, so we have several flagship stores on Tmall. So what I would like to see from Alibaba after the IPO is, of course, that they spend more investment in the logistic area and also in the customer service area. So now, like different merchants, we have to source for our own agency for customer service or for the logistics. So if they can like have this supply chain ready for us to use, like we will be very happy about that.
Is Helen mentioned in the last panel, there are other e-commerce companies out there in China. And so what do you think that the IPO would mean in terms of competition? I mean, will Alibaba have such deep pockets from this IPO that they can really just lock in the market forever, or is there still room for competition?
I'm actually answering it more from a business perspective and how we see it. I think when any company grows big, I think the biggest issue that they will have at the end of the day is how they're going to manage the whole governance of how they run the company. I mean, I've had the opportunity or the glory or privilege of visiting them, and I think with the amount of subsidiaries that they have, I think when you ask them how many companies do you have today, actually, honestly, they tell you, I don't know, right? And that I think is going to be something like you said that in China, I think the impact is going to be how are they going to manage and control. They grew up like we all know Alibaba is a high tech company with a leader with some great business ideas, and I think to me when you start growing, they are going to have the issues of what I call big organization. When they start to grow big, they're going to start to have some little cracks there just because of a little, and especially when they're listed on a US market, where one of the subsidiaries, which is what we call a grandchild or a great grandchild company, and that could actually make a big, if you like, impact on how on the overall standing. So if you ask me, like the impact, I think they have an impact now because they have grown so big. They have made China, I think, famous, right? But I think when we look at how they're going to operate in the China market, I actually see them getting to be a bit more like the big corporates, like in the Japan or the other organizations where they start branching into things that are not their core strength. And I think to me, okay, from a person who's looking at the management and the business trend of it, I think that is something that I would see they will have a few years. And then after that, if they don't look at how they're managing the governance and the controls, they're going to have other issues that we are hearing what the big companies are facing.
To complement on that, I would say that it will give them. I don't think that they need more money to grow organically. It could give them pockets deep enough to go and hire, and buy, whoever they see is, oh, this is a good entrepreneur, I buy. Or this startup looks interesting, I buy. This model I want to try, I buy. This maybe. So there could be, they could gain market share, I think, in my opinion, by that way. But overall, I hope that it will, and I kind of think that it will help the whole industry in whatever whatever vertical, whatever service that they're in. I think it will help the whole industry, and I think that we already see merchants having more and more of their sales also outside Tmall, opening stores on Jingdong, on wherever, depending on their business model. But more and more brands are interested in other platforms as well, and in their own platform. And we see the market share in B2B, in B2C of Tmall precisely to slowly but shrink year on year. So there is a slow diversification. I don't think that the IPO will change that.
Yeah, you mentioned investments. We've already seen them making quite a lot in things like online video and even gaming. And I haven't quite figured out how they're going to put all this together into a strategy for e-commerce, but
I don't think they have neither.
I think it's actually all connected because with e-commerce, what you need is, of course, a traffic. So all these sites, they bring extra traffic to Tmall. I think that's why they're buying all these online video, all these like entertainment-related sites, because you have a lot of eyeballs there.
It's the omni-channel approach of things, really omni from traffic point of view, but also with some of the acquisitions they've made in, we said, transport and everything. So it's really end-to-end, full type of service, really omni-channel type of approach of the business, I think, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like there's one competitor that really has a chance to take them on, which is Tencent. With WeChat, there are so many users of QQ and WeChat that they really have a strong consumer base anyway. that rivals the size of Alibaba. And now they're getting into mobile commerce and they're offering mobile payments and things like this. So do you think that, how do you see the competition between Tencent and Alibaba specifically shaping up?
So one is coming, I think everyone knows, one is coming from the commerce point of view, the other one from social point of view, and they meet especially on mobile. We haven't seen much of a change in following the stake of 15% stake taken by Tencent in Jingdong. We haven't seen much of an outcome in pure e-commerce from Tencent Group, much change or much more traction or anything. So it's really on mobile and mobile commerce that they go heads to heads. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I think that Tencent is the next bet. They have so many users on their WeChat. It's theirs. It's their business. It's theirs to take. But then the next morning I wake up and I think, but difficult to build e-commerce, to build an Alibaba type of processes, platform, company, and a social thinking and DNA is quite different from an e-commerce DNA and an ecosystem and everything. So they will never partner, although it would be the most amazing move on the planet. But so I'm not sure. To be honest, I don't know where it's going, but for sure it will be on mobile and mobile commerce and how this social commerce really comes to life.
Yes, so my view is a bit similar to Alex. So I think even though a lot of people are on WeChat all the time, but people use it mostly for communication purposes. So like SMS, like someone said before, or just to share pictures. So people's intention are different than if they go on Tmall. So of course, there will be some social commerce, and what we see now is mainly like really small companies or like individuals selling stuff on WeChat. But for big like branded companies, we haven't seen like one big example of a big success selling through WeChat.
I look at it more from a different point of view. In that I think Tencent is really coming from a user experience. So if you work a lot with Tencent, they will tell you they are willing to partner a lot with big companies to come up with innovative things. Yum, KFC, how you call that, Littleship, have actually, if you like, push out some online ordering, online payment of the fast food delivery. So I do see the social commerce coming into play. But I think Tencent's point of view is from what are the services and convenience I can give my social community. Whereas I think, like you said, Alibaba is from the other end. I actually, personally, I do see that Tencent will give Alibaba a run. Not because of the transaction, but I think both companies are looking at the consumers in a different way. One Alibaba is looking at the consumers and saying, how can I track more, or how can I create more opportunities for you to transact? Whereas the other side, where we look at Tencent with the WeChat, with QQ, they are looking at it saying, how do I make you use my application to share more with your friends? And I believe I'm going to comment on this because just now somebody had commented about the fact that actually a lot of people are not active on WeChat, right? And I think, but WeChat is actually a P2P application, which means that it's not like Weibo. I can't blast it. People don't look at it. And if we look at a lot of people are passive, right? We are passive users. We want to be involved, but we don't want to be committed. That means I just want to listen to what other people are saying, and only in the point of time where I really feel strongly about something, I'll go out and say something, even in my friend circle. But I want to know what they are doing. So, and I think that's why when Tencent looks at how they want to go, they are trying to say, how can I invoke the people to have more commitment and not just to be involved? So I think the interaction is different. The recent launch of a few months ago with the WeShop, I actually told, in fact, I just told one of my clients yesterday, I'm starting to see WeChat like an app, like Apple app. They are actually giving you the platform and for you to build things on their platform, right? Like iTunes, right? So you can have a HTML application behind every WeChat application, and it becomes very powerful. And if people start looking at this, actually, it is a very powerful tool. And I think it's how they're going to bring it to the next level. That's where we're going to see whether they will give uh, Alibaba a real run for their business.
Let's talk a little bit more about consumers and mobile, because mobile commerce is growing very fast, and that's not just about Tencent and WeChat. I mean, mobile sales for Alibaba have been growing quite a lot too. So, are you seeing differences in what consumers buy and when they shop and how much they spend on mobile versus PC?
Um, am I right in saying that this year for the Double 11, Tmall aims at 51%, 51% mobile so revenue coming from mobile. Last year was 18 or 20, roughly. This year they aim at more than half, 51% being an emblematic figure. And I think that this already says a lot by itself. And we see that for most of our clients, clearly the revenue coming from mobile versus desktop is on par with this, is skyrocketing. Now, it's always complex, and we always have long discussions with clients and partners on what is the definition of a mobile transaction. Those figures and everything that when we talk about it, it's always the amount of money that is paid through a mobile device. But then I think that in most cases, and unfortunately we don't have stats, or at least I don't have them, the transaction starts on another device. So I browse online, I select my Uniqlo shirt online by browsing 10 different and selecting one. And then I put it to the basket, I consider, and maybe when I go back home, on the way home, then I place my order. Or when it becomes on discount on Double 11 day at midnight from my bed, I place my order. So there seem to be more and more browsing also happening on mobiles with the bigger screens and etc. But so far, I believe very much in the behavior where people pay on their mobile. But still use bigger screens for many categories. Maybe not the alcohol category, but for many categories, your bigger screen where they can see the product better before actually buying.
Yes. So for standardized products like electronics or like our products, alcohol, which people know the brand, they know the product already, like you might buy directly on mobile, but for clothing or for other more complicated products, you would rather see it on a bigger screen where you really take time to check all the product description, all the attributes, etc. But maybe like then you go home before bedtime, you purchase on your mobile.
I'd love to get a more perspective from you about kind of the brand's perspective on your e-commerce strategy. I mean, is it about branding or is it really about sales? And if it's about sales, is it about new products or trying to like dump overstock?
I think it's a really good question. And me and Alex, we had a lot of discussions about this when we were setting up our stores. So for alcohol, because actually for Chinese consumers, imported alcohol is still a very new category. It's a very small part of the total alcohol category, which is dominated by Diageo and by beer. So for us, actually, it plays a really big branding role and also an education role. So first, we need people to understand what is whiskey, what is it made from, what are the different areas in Scotland, and what kind of whiskeys they produce, like all the information about the story, history, the brand heritage. So I think they need all this kind of information. So I think Tmall provides a very good platform where they can come up and then like get all the information, understand about our brand, watch our videos, and then of course buy our products. So the sales is more like an end, but it starts with understanding about the category, the brand.
Okay, that's very interesting. One of the things that I've heard from some brands, and I think even Alex, when I interviewed you for a white paper a couple of years ago, people say that Alibaba and Tmall are really oriented towards consumers, but they're not really oriented towards brands and working with them and offering brands what they want. So I just, they kind of force them to work too quickly sometimes. And I just wondered if you have a perspective on how easy they are or not easy to work with.
So actually, in the beginning, like you said, they're very like sales focused. So they just want you to sell your products very cheaply. So it could be your like inventory or whatever you can sell cheaply. This is the kind of products they want. But now, actually, they are trying to work with all the international brands, all the FMCG companies. So really, they want to provide the platform where for the brands they can do both brand building and generate sales on this platform.
Do either of you have any comments from clients you work with about how difficult or easy they found Alibaba is to work with?
So without playing on words, but Alibaba helps is a great partner because they provide that traffic and qualified traffic. So people will play the game because the result is here, or at least the mean to the result is here, the traffic. So yes, people complain a lot. All brands say, but now they learn more and more, and Taobao also Tmall is easier to work with, but they still complain a lot. It's still very difficult, the turnaround time and everything, the requirements, and they change their mind every a few days and etc. But they bring the traffic, they bring the money. So what can you say? So at the end of the day, brands and CEOs are happy because the results are there.
I mean, when I talk to my clients, a lot of them, one of the major comments they have been making is getting more expensive to operate on Tmall. So, and as more and more brands enter into Tmall, I think that's an expectation because the competition is there. But I think nevertheless, it's a great place for some people use it actually as a branding. They may not sell much, but people know if you are listed there, you have the money. You are not a small player, and you have a good product. So I think different people have used Tmall and look at it quite different.
Actually, I want to get a photo of the e-commerce panel here. Photographer, you want to get a photo here? Can we get a photo? Oh, sorry, yeah, can we get a photo of the e-commerce panel, please? And while we're doing that, if there are any last questions from the audience, let's get a photo of the. Okay, so Mary, were you going to say something? Yeah.
Want me in there too?
Yeah. And yes, I think there was a question all the way in the back. Um, yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry. I think I have the mic. I'm hogging the mic.
Thank you. There's been some articles recently about the scrubbing practice, like the fake sales and all that. And I think it said that it was much more of a problem previously, and now it's kind of less. But does anyone have any insight into how big is this scrubbing issue? Yeah, I think it was mainly about Taobao, like fake sales to boost your rating and all that kind of stuff.
Actually, like because I worked for platforms like eBay and Yahoo before, so we have it's a system in place where it can track your IP and based on like your past records, and then like whether you do it within a very short period of time. Actually, there's a lot of mechanisms that we can monitor whether it's a fake sale. So Tmall and Taobao, they also have these systems in place, but of course, you cannot monitor 100%.
There another question? I think I saw another hand go up before. No?
Okay, well, thank you, Normandy, for a great panel. A lot of good
Sure.
questions. Thank you, Mary.
Natalie? Alex?
Alex.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you said you had a white paper on this topic?
Yeah, for eMarketer. And I interviewed, that's how I met Alex.
Yeah, and if you're interested in this topic, then read Normandy's white paper on this whole topic as well. So, on that note, we're going to be having a reception next. And before I close out, I did want to say that our next event is going to be in Silicon Valley. And that is October 2nd. So if you happen to be there on the holiday period, let me know. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be at Draper University, their hero city. If you haven't seen Draper University's entrepreneurial school yet in San Mateo, it's a good chance to check it out. And some of his entrepreneurs are going to be there too. So Tim Draper will be speaking, and we'll have our all-star dealmaker panel again, and tech chats, and a sector spotlight as well. So anybody who's going to be in the Valley October 2nd, let me know. Rebecca at silicondragonventures.com. And after that, we're going to be in Hong Kong November 13th, where we're going to be doing our awards event. So if you're in Hong Kong, November 13th. And after that, November 20th in Bangalore. So anyone who's going to be in Bangalore, November 20th, again, just drop me an email and we'll get you registered. I don't know how much traffic there is between here and Bangalore, but there probably is some. And I know there is some because I wrote a book called Startup Asia, which tracked the money from China into India. But without further ado, I'd like to thank again our sponsors, KPMG, Cooley, KIC, and our supporters. AngelVest, Bay Area Council, Cyberport, of course. We thank Cyberport for the photos and the videos today. Mobile Monday Shanghai, Startup Digest, Thoughtful China, and also the Hong Kong Science and Tech Park. If you haven't seen the Hong Kong Science and Tech Park, it's really worth a visit. And Cyberport too in Hong Kong. Hong Kong's trying to, really build up its startup ecosystem. So it's worth a visit to Hong Kong if you haven't checked out what's going on there. And while you're there, you can come visit us on November 13th in Hong Kong. But thank you all for staying and for asking such good questions and being such an attentive audience. So I'll give you a round of applause. I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.